Good evening, Belizeans at home and abroad. My name is Leonard Brackett. Uh, our chairman is not available at the moment, so I'll just launch the program, which is the Belizean Affairs Show number 126 for Monday, 8th of April of 2024. Thank you very much for those of you who will be tuning in tonight and others who will be tuning in and listening thereafter at your convenience. As usual, we start our regular program with a short prayer, followed by a short scripture reading, and then we get into the meat of the program. Thank you again for tuning in, and I'll just bow my head and say a short prayer. Divine Living Father, we thank you for this privilege that was granted us to still be alive today among our family members, friends, and loved ones. We pray that thou must continue to guide and protect and bless us. We pray that thou must bless our country of Belize, its people, and its leadership. That thou must bless this country of the United States also, its people and its leadership, and the rest of humanity as well, loving Father. We pray that thou must help those people who are in hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes, and all semblance of natural disasters, as well as man-made disasters, in the instances of wars where people have been killed gratuitously with no justification whatsoever. We pray that thou must continue to abide with us. Please have mercy upon us, we pray, for us his mercies in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you very much for allowing us to follow the format of our program. And we will do so again by reading a few short verses from Proverbs chapter 14, and we'll start at verse 5. A faithful witness will not lie, but a false witness will utter lies. A scorner seeketh wisdom and findeth it not, but knowledge is easy unto him that understandeth. Go from the presence of a foolish man when thou perceives not uh, in him the lips of knowledge. The wisdom of the prudent is to understand his ways, but the folly of fools is deceit. Fools make a mock at sin, but among the righteous there is favor. And that's the reading for today. And we'll get into a portion of our program here. Well, hold up, and we want to go to, let's see if I can find it.
One.
Just a second. I'm trying to locate something here. Okay.
Former champions Justin.
Okay.
I want to tell you.
Okay, just bear with me for one more second.
We're live.
Okay, let me just put the whole thing up and then I'll. Okay, so the topic for right now, until the chairman shows up, if he's available for us tonight, temporary topic will be Belize Deputy Governor General, a constitutional travesty an untenable anomaly and a conflict of interest. The following commentary was made by Leonard Brackett, posted on March 27th of this year, 2024. I went on to say in this commentary, Mr. Stuart Leslie, as Cabinet Secretary, the government of Belize, and also Deputy Governor General of Belize, operates at the pleasure of the Prime Minister of Belize, who nominated him to serve Cabinet's interests in both positions. And one person should not be occupying those two positions because those two positions serve two different masters or two different elements or point of governance in our governance system. The Governor General of Belize, I went on to say, as a Belizean, is appointed and assented by and serves at the pleasure and interest of the Belize head of state, who is the Royal Highness King Charles of Great Britain and the UK and Commonwealth. The Governor General of Belize, when there is an occasion, is nominated by the Prime Minister of Belize, who is subordinate to the Governor General, and from whom the Prime Minister gets ascension or transfer of Belize executive governance powers. After a general election, but who does not serve at the pleasure of the Prime Minister. In other words, the Governor General does not serve at the pleasure of the Prime Minister because it is the Prime Minister, by virtue of the powers vested in the head of state, who the Governor General represents, that grants the Prime Minister an assent to his ability to govern the country after whoever is declared the winner of the general election for them to become Prime Minister and then assumes the governance power of the country on behalf of the people who elected him. The Deputy Governor General, who also serves under the Governor General and sometimes in place of the Governor General, serves when the Governor General is not available or is sick or out of the country and is incapacitated or unable to perform the functions of the Governor General. Then the Deputy Governor General is given a writ to operate temporarily as if that Deputy Governor General is then acting in the capacity of the Governor General and then serving the head of state as a replacement then for the unavailable Governor General. That individual, as the Deputy Governor General, should not be sitting in cabinet under the guise and control of cabinet, which is a reverse rule. Just a second. The Deputy Governor General of Belize, as a Belizean, is appointed and assented to by the Governor General of Belize to act as delegated Deputy Governor General of Belize in the Governor General's absence, and serves at the pleasure and interest and in the interest of the Governor General and the Belize head of state, who is His Royal Highness King Charles of Great Britain and the UK and Commonwealth. The Deputy Governor General, as I previously stated, is nominated by the Prime Minister of Belize for the Governor General's ascension. It is a constitutional travesty and an untenable anomaly, and a conflict of interest to have the same person, in this case, Mr. Stuart Leslie, or anyone else, for the above noted matter of fact, to occupy or perform or exercise both functions as Cabinet Secretary, being beholden to the Cabinet and the Prime Minister, as well as being the Deputy Governor General, as being beholden to and serving at the pleasure and in the interest of the Governor General and of Belize Head of State and the Cabinet and Prime Minister of Belize. So we have a major issue that apparently the Prime Minister is comfortable with. Why? Because in the absence of the Governor General, the Prime Minister wields the power and dictates to the Deputy Governor General, who sits with him as his Cabinet Secretary, what he wants that Deputy Governor General, then acting in the capacity as the Governor General, to be pursuing on his behalf. And we have had occasions in the past where ascension or signature of laws or documents were done by the Deputy Governor General, apparently as a favor to his cabinet colleagues while serving in the same capacity as the Cabinet Secretary, without the independent guidance that the Governor General should be exercising, because the one person occupy and exercise both powers, powers in both function or in both positions. As I said, that is a travesty and an untenable set of circumstances. And I don't think it's because the Prime Minister does not know that, or the Deputy Governor General does not know that, or that the Governor General herself would not have known that or know that, or that Cabinet would not know that the Secretary of Cabinet should not be operating under and or act in the capacity as the Governor General in the absence of the Governor General. That is to say, act in both of those positions, in both instances being subservient to Cabinet and the Prime Minister, when in fact the Governor General's position derives from the authority of the head of state. I wish they would clean that up, because it's not the first time they have heard about it from me, and it shouldn't have taken my needing to explain or express my concern about that issue to them, other than because I believe deep down in my soul that these guys do understand what's going on, but it serves their purpose very well, and therefore they will not rock the boat. They'll pretend that they are not aware of these things, and they just keep on tracking and doing what they have been doing, because it's not just today they've been doing that. It's been done for a while now. Uh, at this point, I'd like to read another issue here. Let me skip that one. I'll skip that all the way over to just a second, please. I'm trying to bring up something on my telephone. So I need to go. I can't get it from there. I gotta go somewhere else to find it. Just bear a little patient with me, now, please, because I need to locate this item. Okay, first let me go back up here for a second and double check how it looks like. Okay, so that's what it looks like. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I can't access the information at the location where I first went, so I gotta go and try and pull it up from another location. And it's taking me a little longer than I anticipated, but I do need to read it. So let me. It's not that. I just It's got to be a person. Strange. Holy cow. Okay, let me see if it's this one. Yes, it is this one. So, okay, I found it. Oops. Oh, it's not allowing me to access it here either. You have to go a little further back. I'm trying to access something here, but it's not allowing me to gain access to it. I guess I gotta go a little further back to be able to. Strange. And then I'm babbling and not being effective, but please bear with me. I'll be with you in a second. Uh, I'm talking and I don't have my headphone on. Just a second. Just bear with me for a second, now, please. I found it at another location, but I couldn't access it from there either, so I gotta go back a little further, which is what I'm doing now. Wasting a little bit of extra time, to locate the material. Oh, no. Uh, I keep having to make apologies because I'm not able to locate the material. I've been publishing so much material recently. Okay, I got it now after such a long struggle. Like I said, I'd just like to apologize for having to go through that process just now in order to locate the material. This item here was first written and published on October 20th of 2021, referring to the Belize Constitution Reform Commission at the time being known as such. But we now know after so long, eventually they had a different name, which is the PCC. But at the time I was writing this article, it was still being classified and or known as Belize Constitution Reform Commission, now being known as the PCC, as I previously said. So I said, Belize PM is hiding behind, so we need to be aware and take heed because he says that Belize lacks talent. And I went on to add, apparently we also lack intelligence aggregation and deciphering analysis capabilities. And I posed a series of questions, as in the case of question number one, where I said, question number one, does the Prime Minister of Belize, Honorable Mr. John Briceño, understands contextually the meaning and implication of the term or word sedition, as imbued or used or outlined in the Constitution of Belize. I also went on to ask a further question. Question number 2. Does the Prime Minister of Belize, Honorable Mr. John Briceño, realizes or knows that neither he or any other officials of, of the Belize government are above the laws or Constitution of Belize and could be exposed to charges of sedition for seditious intent activities? I further ask another question. Question number 3. Does the Prime Minister of Belize, Honorable Mr. John Briceño, abhors or disagrees with the Constitution of Belize as it currently is? And would he like to arbitrarily and capriciously make changes which would appear to be his wet dreams? I followed up that third question with a fourth question, by the way. Question number 4. Does the Prime Minister of Belize, Honorable Mr. John Briceño, understands or realize that the Constitution of Belize, as a living, self-preserving document, provides guidelines, protocols, procedures, processes, and practices for the lawful, legal, constitutional amendments or alterations thereof or thereto? I posed a fifth question as part of this series of questions, and I queried, does the Prime Minister of Belize, Honorable Mr. John Briceño, really accept the limitations on his powers as Prime Minister of Belize, whilst not being Belize's head of state, which is His Majesty, from whom he acquires assent of power to govern Belize? I posed a sixth question, by the way, which went on to query, does the Prime Minister of Belize, Honorable Mr. John Briceño, wishes Belize to dispense with all remaining British colonial vestiges that currently overshadows Belize's constitutional independence, as his predecessors, former prime ministers, did? I didn't stop there. I went on again with another question. Question number 7. Does the Prime Minister of Belize, Honorable Mr. John Briceño, truly knows and understands what is the British High Commission and its purpose or functions in Belize, as compared to a British embassy in other countries? I ask a further question, question number 8, the last question, by the way, in this series. I ask, does the Prime Minister of Belize, Honorable Mr. John Briceño, understands and realize that he cannot be found to be attempting to suborn the Governor General, of whom we just spoke a while ago? Remember just now I read you that issue about having one person occupying the powers of the Governor General, as well as being the same person occupying the powers or the seat in cabinet, being as the cabinet secretary, being subordinate to the leader of cabinet, which is then the Prime Minister, while at the same time having the powers and exercising the powers of the Governor General or as the Deputy Governor General, which those powers are to be exercised at the pleasure and in the interest of the head of state. I went on to say, the Governor General of Belize, who serves at the pleasure of Belize's head of state, His Royal Highness, who appoints and whose appointment is subject to recall. In other words, the Governor General, as well as the Deputy Governor General, serving at the pleasure of the head of state, is subject to recall by the by the head of state. In other words, the Governor General serves at the head of state's pleasure, which means then that they can be recalled just about any time the head of state wishes to. I went on to say, note well, the following commentary was made by Leonard Brackett as an overview to questions from Mr. Gregory Brackett on statutory instrument versus the Constitution of Belize Act and intended amendments or alteration thereto. The Constitution of Belize bastardization or challenging of Pandora's box became the title for that subsection of the essay that I was writing. And I went on to say, Belize at the age of 48 year, years of independence, the Prime Minister, Mr. John Briceño, with dream Constitution of Belize revamping. In other words, we're having a constitutional reform commission, which is now the CCP, that is being put in place by the Prime Minister to try and achieve these things that I've been talking about as when the show started. And as a result, I went on to say, Prime Minister of Belize, Honorable Mr. John Briceño, appears to be getting or drunk, announcing a constitutional reform commission uh, to reform the Constitution of Belize into a more pliable document so as to aggregate to the government of Belize some additional powers vested in the Belize head of state and the people of Belize and constitutionally protected. I see our chairman is on the site as of right now. So I would just like to ask him if you'd indulge me to read just one paragraph to close up that thought that I was reading about just now. Just one more paragraph, and I'll forego the rest of the material for some other future occasion because I need to yield to the chairman. May I, Mr. Chairman, please?
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. I went on to further elaborate for clarity, and I stated, it is a harbinger of what is to come, that is, riddance of existing constraints on government from the Constitution of Belize, as we currently know them to be, to a possible dictatorship, governance by ministerial fiat before the current term is completed by the present PUP-led government of Belize. I'll turn over, Mr. Chairman, I yield.
Thank you, sir. Good night to the Belizean people at home and abroad, and thank you for tuning in to this 125th episode of Belizean Affair. I thank you for sitting with me as my virtual host, my good cousin.
You're
So
welcome, sir.
tonight, the first thing I wanted to touch is this, sir.
Where we are is that we are awaiting a date to be set by the court for oral hearings, the actual oral hearings of the case. Um, we expect that that date will be set sometime later this year. That date is likely, it could be late this year or it could be sometime next year in the early part of 2025. We're not sure as yet. But that's where we are with that. We Belize maintains its very strong confidence that we have a firm, strong case. We believe that this case will vindicate Belize's position that in terms of our territorial integrity over our territory, our islands, or marine spaces. But Belize remains committed to a peaceful resolution of this matter before the ICJ. So we're going to see that process work its way out. And at the end of the day, we will respect the decision of the court. We're very glad to hear that our neighbors in Guatemala have also said the same thing, that they will respect the outcome of the court's decision. At the same time, we, of course, continue to have challenges on the ground at the border in terms of incursions, um, you know, uh, farming on Belizean territory. We are tracking these things very carefully. Um, the deforestation that's taking place, particularly in the Chiquibul area. So these are issues that we are very concerned about. And even though we're working through the ICJ process, that doesn't mean that we're not working with Guatemala on these issues. We're engaged with them on these issues with the help and support of the OAS. The OAS plays a very critical role in terms of that adjacency zone. So we're all committed.
I go to you first, my good cousin. I think we have a prime minister who is in denial. I was waiting for him to mention anything that was happening within the Sarah Spoon. And this is why I said he was in denial. Because if you can say you have a president of Guatemala who is saying that they will cooperate and they will go along with the ruling, why are we still having these skirmishes in the Sarah Stone? I go to you and
Uh, 1 second, Greg. Just let me close off the stuff here for a second, please. Okay, save. Okay. Um, our problem is in the past as well as up to today's date. Presently, we have people who are supposedly interested in having this issue resolved between us and Guatemala, but winking their eyes and operating our governance powers as if we're subservient to Guatemala as their 23rd district or a vassal state of Guatemala, as they attempted to do in the 13 proposals and the 17 proposals and in the heads of agreement and in all the other subsequent agreements that have been signed with Guatemala. Guatemala does not want to live in peace with us. Otherwise, they would have continued doing that from when they signed the original agreement in 1858 and 1859 and 1863. And they had done so for a period of years until when a new government came into power and decided to want to dishonor the agreement or throw it out and decide that they're going to take the place either by force or by reason. And for we governance people, them, especially after we got independence, have been kowtowing to Guatemala until today day. We should not have been at the high CGA arguing or litigating, like Mr. Price says. Belize is not for litigation, it's not for sale, and quite a few other statements that Mr. Price will make. But here we are today. Both the UDP and the PUP, as our governance powers having been elected as government of our country, have engineered and have connived and bamboozled the public into signing up to go and question our independence at The Hague and to go and question our territorial integrity at The Hague, when in fact we have already been declared an independent country, accepted by the United Nations, accepted by the Organization of American States, accepted by CICA, the Central American states, accepted by the Caribbean community, accepted by the non-aligned states, accepted by the Commonwealth. Why are we or why did they have to engineer us into this process? We are where we are. Okay, we can't get away from that. But even at this late point, we have the present government spitting in at the face of the attorney that we have representing us there, saying that the man no understand the assignment when they are getting an assignment to make them could have hustle some money on the side. Do you think that gentleman will have the same heart and soul and fortitude and commitment as he had before? For him to be told by the Prime Minister that he didn't understand his assignment, after the man gave a very strong and solid response to the documents that was provided to him, 50-odd pages of legal advice that the Prime Minister himself did not take to Cabinet, but went to Cabinet to lie to his own Cabinet members in order to facilitate them getting something done that was contrary to good governance and contrary to the best interests of Belize. We should not be at the ICJ today. But now that we're there, the least we could do is present the most credible, sound, and solid defense. Because we didn't go there voluntarily or on we own. We were pulled there by Guatemala. And the documents that Guatemala submit have all kinds of allegations, many of which we defense people are not in a position to be able to adequately defend. Why? Because it requires delving into history and a lot of archives that the British government have that we, the Belizeans, don't have access to. So how the devils are we going to present a credible defense if we are chasing away the British out of Wikana and we go in there with a hand in our pocket and hope that these 16 judges or 15 judges at the Hague will look at me and say, well, poor thing, let's be sorry for them and let's give Guatemala a finger and make these poor people and get them break. That's not how it works. If you go to court, you have to either have a good case against whoever you're going to court with, or you have to have a good defense so that they don't walk all over you. But all of we cases in any of we high courts, then both the PUP as well as the UDP government, who are supposed to have we governments in their control, have lost at every step of the way. And they're going to tell us, oh, we have an ironclad case. If we had an ironclad case out of basic decency, they would not have been discrediting the lawyer that we have representing us. Many cases have gone to court and have been thrown by the lawyers who are supposed to be representing the people them. And the worst part is that we make side agreements with the Guatemalans them, stipulating that the court will not review the treaty because that is not what Guatemala wants to answer to. In fact, that's not what they sued us on. We are at the court now responding on what Guatemala sued us on. We can't go there and decide, okay, well, we only respond to what we want to respond to. That's not how the court works. So we have to have a credible defense for what we are being sued on. And what we are being sued on, they have already given away the shop. They signed these deals with the one of the agreements that they made in the 90s, early 90s, 1991, when Mr. Musa was foreign minister, saying that we don't have one true border between us and Guatemala. All we have is what they call it, an adjacency zone, and that they didn't recognize what's supposed to be we border as being a legitimate border. And then they turned around and made a side agreement again with the Guatemalans them under the special agreement, abrogating basically the former treaty with them that the British had signed on for us. And now we are putting aside that treaty apparently and signing up a new agreement with Guatemala, under which is what we are at the Hague defending now. Guatemala never wanted to go to the Hague to defend or to question the treaty because they would not have won. But now that we have giving them stick to broke over our head with the modern agreements with them. All these things these people have, then could carry to the court. We signed the Maritime Areas Act with them. You know, people don't realize that that the Belizean people rejected the heads of agreement, but those very same heads of agreement and the same 13 and 17 proposals have been slowly implemented in Belize over the years. But Mr. Chairman, I'll yield back for right now, sir. I have a lot more that I want to say about that particular topic.
Rightfully said, sir, because we move away from the head of agreements only to come to conference building measures, which is the same thing in disguise. Nothing has
Exactly.
changed. It is the same thing in disguise. But as that is in disguise, so is the government. Because we hear the Prime Minister speak about the Chickaboo and our borders getting infiltrated, but he don't want to say that they know that it's happening and they are keeping it in a hush mode. Because when BDF that is stationed out there was asked the question about two recently found roads, the BDF told they admitted that they knew the road was going in there and they can hear the star that was used at night to cut the log with. But they cannot leave their post and go do nothing because they were not told to do that, or they don't have sufficient members out there to go on that mission.
Mr.
So it's
Chairman, they
not
don't have
like
the
the
members.
government don't know.
Mr. Chairman, they
Go
don't
ahead.
have the members. They don't have the personnel out there. They don't have the equipment. They don't have nothing. And they don't have the government to back them up if anything may happen, that they could have gone ahead and take care of business. With foreign ministers,
Go,
them. Sorry, I'm sorry about
go
that. Go
ahead.
ahead,
Go
sir.
ahead.
Go ahead. No. Go ahead, Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry about that.
What I was about to say before you said what you was going to say, because it will fall right back into what I keep repeating. Past and present government does not
Facilitate.
have an external policy or an internal policy. We have been hit externally and internally by these same people. They are blocking us in the Sarassoon from going to the forward operating base. And they're also infiltrating our borders and coming and crossing the zone, the
Squatting on the
adjacent
land.
zone. Right. They're doing that, and they are worse than the Mayas because those are the ones the government should be trying to terminate. But how come we can't use our immigration rights and ship them back across the border? Because they are legally entering into the country. And I'm still waiting to hear on that. But again, as I said, our governments are in denial because they know these things are happening and they tend to play as though it is not happening until somebody leaks it and the public know, then they want to do damage control. Go ahead, sir.
The very same foreign minister that was talking just now on the tape that you played, Mr. Fonseca, he was at the renovated forward operating base at the mouth of the Sarsoon. He was also there in the boat a few years back when they were in opposition, when they were talking about, oh, they're going to do better than what the UDP is doing, and that the Guatemalans should not be stopping for BDF and transiting we own waters, because half of the river belong to we, and if we transit on that half will belong to we shouldn't have to have any problems with the Guatemalans them, or they shouldn't have the kind of push no going in for we BDF and for we citizens and affairs, or take away for we citizens and flag from there, and they telling that that's Guatemala's territory, that they can't travel there without getting permission from Guatemala. For all intents and purposes, the Sarsoon Island and the waterways surrounding that island are under the control and jurisdiction of Guatemala. In other words, they have taken it and they have no intentions in giving it back. But we just say, oh, well, all we have to do is just have good neighborly relations with these people and everything will be worked out. It hasn't been worked out. It's not being worked out or worked on right now to have it done. In other words, we should not have gone to no ICJ with these people, with them muzzling us in our own country. Back in Cayo area, you have people where they build houses from we part of the border, and the OAS know that. In fact, the reason why the OAS got involved in the first place when we have the I think it was Santa Rita or Santa something villages. Before we soldier BDF could push them out, we had to go and get permission from OAS to step in and supervise us taking the people out of we land. If we go try to do that, Guatemala now wait for no wait for no OAS to come be along with them to determine how they can get we people out there. And probably shut them on the spot and bury them for all you know. But we are given no respect. And yet some of we people, even up to the highest level, to talk about we need to respect the process and respect the Guatemalans them, and then they take advantage of we, and are we supposed to be the one to turn around and apologize for them taking advantage of us? It's our government that's supposed to apologize to the people for not doing their jobs on behalf of the country. Because if the Guatemalans know, as a matter of fact, I'm telling you something right now, quickly. Do you know that there's a document that we government signed saying that Belize and Guatemala should not go and complain to the OAS or to the United Nations or to any other foreign bodies such as the Commonwealth or the Caribbean or CARICOM? In other words, what the document says is that whatever is going on between these two entities, between Guatemala and Belize, they will keep it among themselves and they should not talk about it to nobody else or with nobody else. Now, how the hell that will ever work when we are smaller than Guatemala and we are always being used, misused, and abused by Guatemala? And we're not supposed to complain or say nothing because technically and legally, according to the agreements for these idiots and sign on our behalf, I'm talking about we want government officials, them and foreign ministers, them signing these kind of documents on. In other words, when they type we hand, then they tape up with mouth, then they allow it to probably breathe for all you know. So when they see what they happen, we can't say nothing about it and we can't do nothing about it. When in fact, every time they violate food sovereignty, we should have the right under international law to complain to the United Nations about it and to anybody else who we want. But you have we want people sign any kind of documents, treacherous documents that suppresses our ability to be able to let the world know what is going on with us. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Well said, sir. But again, you see what we are falling under. You see what Russia is doing to Ukraine when they invade, annex them. You see what Israel is doing to Gaza. And you know why this is happening? Because there's wealth within the territory. Has it not been for the oil that is in the Gaza territory, this would not be happening. That is why the great America does not want to give up its foreign interest over that section. And I'll show you it because it is very simple to prove. Guatemala has interest in its constitution as part of their nation. Venezuela did the same to Guyana for the region where the oil is. Even though they fall under CARICOM and CARICOM countries are interceding, what the Great White Hope did? They are secretly putting up bases in the area where the oil fields are. So you know
Mm-hmm.
what that is saying to Venezuela? If you cross over here, we will use your military power
Mm-hmm.
to get rid of you. And that is why the Middle East is so messed up. And that is why we are in this situation with Guatemala as we speak. Because they don't care what happens. It comes back to the Webster proposal, back to the
Mm-hmm.
heads of agreement,
Mm-hmm.
all the way down to what conference building measure that is no good for Belize. If we look back on the past, how much Belize have given to Guatemala under the Barrow regime to the
Mm-hmm.
present regime that is the government.
Mr. Chairman,
You know,
14
yes,
agreement when Mr. Barragan signed at Placencia. Remember those?
yes, I do
They were
recall them.
all those agreements was in favor of Guatemala. Okay, all I think that 13 or 14 agreements that they signed, and from what I can remember reading about them, they were all in favor of Guatemala, trade and all kind of stuff. But anyhow, sorry for interjecting just now. So I couldn't
But
resist since you brought that point up.
no, that is okay because you know we want to shed some light on what has been happening
Mm,
because we hear nobody speaking about what the past government did. And I believe that is not only ludicrous, I believe it is treason. When you go and sign away Ireland without a referendum, you know, that is ludicrous and crazy. When you go and you try to say we will work together and you keep giving up waterways, and then you know what? It becomes a little bit more and a little bit more till now they partially want to take the whole south. Go ahead, sir.
Mr. Chairman, when they talk about working together with Guatemala and giving the Guatemalan citizens that come to our country illegally squat on our lands, and the Prime Minister in his division turn around and give these people all required documentations and facilitations, contrary to what the Constitution says, because in the Constitution, I believe, I think it's section 25, 26, 27, somewhere in that area there. I can't recall exactly right now. I could probably look it up before the show is done so we could prove and point out to the people and read it exactly if I have enough time. That what I'm saying is so. I'm not maligning nobody. I'm not talking bad about nobody that don't deserve to be maligned or be talked bad about because we are talking about their treacherousness to we, the Belizean people. They signed these agreements with these people, and even contrary to we constitution. In other words, they dispense with the constitution and pretend that it doesn't exist, and they don't follow the constitutional requirements. And as Mr. Fonseca said just now, work with the Guatemalans them. That's what he means when he said work with them. Give them favored actions that they don't reciprocate to us. You think any Belizean could go to Guatemala and sit by any part of Petén, or any part of Livingston, or any part of Barrios, or any part of any other part of Guatemala for that matter of fact, and get away with that? And then turn around then, the Guatemalans then want give you papers for the place then where we squat pan, give you all the documents then give you with scheduler, then give you with passport, then give you everything. And the title to the land too, by the way. And then pay for it. Because as far as I know, the we government pay for all the services or the Prime Minister may give them people the other day when they took all the government departments in a one day and gone and facilitate me don't know where all and who all. And probably still doing the same thing as of today, with the talk. While they deny and refuse the Belizeans, born Belizeans, any such help or assistance. And then we're going to tell me craziness about, it's important for them to work with the Guatemalans then and be neighborly. The Guatemalans don't want with neighborliness, they want with territory, they want with assets, they want with seas and the minerals under the sea and the minerals under the ground on the mainland.
Right. And you know what? I think the people are in denial because majority of us don't read or follow up on what is going on because the same thing as I said Israel did to Gaza is doing to Gaza as we presently speak. As Honduras, what Guatemala did to them in the name of lease.
Mm-hmm.
When the lease was expired, what they did, use
They
force
refuse to give
and
up.
take over what? Take it over.
They refuse.
So
They
it
refuse
is not
to give it back.
right.
Puerto Barrios belongs to
Exactly.
Honduras. So for all intents and purposes, Guatemala don't have no Atlantic outlet. But we government still negotiate with them under the Maritime Areas Act and give them access to the high seas and give them some of we islands and then try to take more of the islands right now. Why? Because the more islands they take or they declare control over, the more they could expand further out in terms of ownership of those territorial waters and the minerals underneath them. But the Belizean people are asleep. They don't understand that kind of stuff there. And those who do understand, they play the fool and pretend like they pretend to be indifferent and don't want to rock the boat and don't want to be bothered. Because there's a
Well,
lot of intelligent
well,
people in the country and know these facts.
rightfully said. Well, I am quite sure because I believe this came up once before in the House, you know. If you recall, there was a bill in the House to retake all our waterways and to have our borders and everything intact, right?
Uh-huh.
And when the bill was presented, it was knocked down. And you know what was the excuse for knocking it down? Not to have no inconvenience with who? The
Guatemala.
Guatemalan.
Exactly.
So, as I stated before, past and present governments are lacking when it comes to external and internal policy.
I call
And
it
the
just like what
thing
you
of
call it,
it-
my cousin, treason. There's no other word for it other than treason. Okay? Go
yes,
ahead, sir.
rightfully said, because that's what they are doing. When you will violate your constitution to align it with a country that is trying to take you over,
Mm-hmm.
something has to be drastically wrong. You know, I mean, I believe there was a lot of things passed under the table when it came to that.
And
You
still
know,
is. And still is.
still going on because I will tell you what is happening right now. The policies of our government is aligned with the policies of the United States. Our
Mr.
Prime
Chairman,
Minister,
Mr. Chairman,
yes,
I have a message to Mr. Fonseca, the gentleman that just spoke just now on the tape that you played. I am of the opinion that he's not too well versed in these international issues and he's not getting adequate information or guidance or support from the people who are in the trench and who know what's going on. Because again, like we stipulated earlier, and I'm going to stipulate again, most of these people dealing with that matter are under the impression that they are under secrecy acts. They're not supposed to speak to the public, to the media, or to anyone, and let anyone in Belize know what's going on because they don't want the people riled up. They want to keep everything under wrap, and when the dice don't cares and the decision don't make, really the Belizean public will not be able to have a chance like we did during the 13th proposal and 17th proposal or the head of agreement to try and fight to have it reversed. It will be a done deal, and there's nothing they can do. Like Mr. Price said one time, certain things may happen that he may make decisions for that he shouldn't have made decisions for too long ago, and therefore it's water under the bridge, and he can't reverse it anymore. He knew from the time when he was doing what he was doing, he shouldn't have done it, but he was able to get away with it for such a long time before anybody bring it to his attention that people knew what he had done. And the man was barefaced enough to tell us all, there's nothing he can do about it. It's done too long ago. But that's how they operate when they do things in secrecy, because they hope that by the time people catch on to what's going on, it has already been established, and whatever was done and became so set in concrete and so old to the point where you can't reverse it. That's the level of treachery that we deal with in our country as far as we politicians are concerned. Then get the power and then do what they want, and to hell with the people. The Prime Minister just stand up there the other day and tell me he don't care what the Conyers then say, because whatever he think is right, he want to do that, and to hell with it. He know why he nothing when he got to say. After he don't sign an agreement with the man, then that he want to become the head of the special commission, okay, to investigate why is it that the Conyers them are being chanced by the BSI ASR. And the people they need to know. He pretend that the government have no powers or influence in terms of looking after the well-being of the people in the country. That all these foreign companies have to be given carte blanche for the opportunity to run roughshod of we people, and there's nothing for we people could do or our government will do on their behalf. Why? Like he said, he no want to get sued. That's why the people don't take advantage, because they know a bunch of cowards. He don't want to get sued. That's why he take hundreds of millions of dollars and turn over to Mr. Ashcroft, because you know what, Mr. Ashcroft go to court and make all the details of the dastardly conduct and the thing then when they pull off behind the scene, and all the agreements then when they so-called settle, when they come out to the light of day, and then the public may get to know how much money they may pay Mr. Ashcroft or give to Mr. Ashcroft, when Mr. Ashcroft not supposed to get out of car first, but it's so they get out of PUP car, political car first. But because they can't come up with the money to pay the man, they settle all accounts from for we dime out of we treasury. And to the people, then re-elect them again. And the man say, see, we know re-elect me again. We have a new mandate. No, the no general election mandate, the man talk about, but that's the way they complete it into. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Well, it will never change as we are dealing with past and present facilitators, because that's what they are doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was saying the policy of the present Prime Minister aligns with the policy of President Biden. And when we talk about ASRBSI, you heard the American senator call him out and said, "What?
Scott from Florida.
Don't forget, you just get what from us. So make sure you treat our foreign what? Investors." So go ahead, sir.
But Mr. Scott is friendly with these people because these people have their business right now in one state, in Florida. So all we need to do is just do like regular power players, elected officials do. Then look after their own interests or the interests of their own people or their own bodies or friends or families. So what Mr. Scott said was not as much as he could have said. Because as a senator in the US Senate, then guys that wields what you call superpowers, not just regular powers like the members of the House of Representatives, who are also powerful people. But a senator has powers that they could shut down the whole damn government if they really want to. I don't know if most Belizean people don't know that. And they not only could shut down the whole of the US government, but they could destroy the whole economy of Belize. One senator. One senator. No, a lot of them, no, a few of them as friends or buddies, we back up each other or help each other. One senator could destroy the whole economy of Belize. And then ships where we got the God of Belize, where we say we try to develop tourism as we number one industry, or any other thing where we sell to America or deal with America, or money where they send for America to Belize, they could shut all of that down, they could lock down for the economy. So in a sort of way, I know the Prime Minister is terrorized. if he's able to recognize those level of power and things that could get done to we to the point where he as the Minister of Finance, you know, could have the whole country destroyed under his feet and under his leadership. If you know kowtow to these people, that's why the ESR people ain't gone to him to the senator. Because like I tell you now, if government had presented a proper case, government would have win the case. And then the senator would have come down with some pressure upon for the government. But the stupid government tried to power play, like I said, with the numbers that they had in their supermajority in the House, and they violated with local constitution, and the court chased them out of the court with their craziness. They didn't have to be chased out of the court, and they didn't have to lose the case. Because where Godfrey did to them was a switch and bait. Godfrey turned the case around Pandey to something different than what they went to court for. And they weren't quick enough on their feet, like I keep repeating over and over, because it's not the first time that I'm saying this. Analyzing the case itself tells you that the government messed up big time. They were counting on the fact that their supermajority had sanctioned that SI, and therefore they figure, okay, well, it should have prevailed. It can't prevail if it doesn't meet the constitutional muster, and it's violative of our constitution, like what the constitution itself says. Any law, any other law that is inconsistent with the constitution is null and void. How come these guys can't get that in their head? I think that's supposed to be one of the first basic things they want to teach them when they go to law school. That's why I say the cabinet have some of the liars in there, and some of them pretend like they left and then lesson in the classroom, like maybe they never attended certain classes or they never learned certain things, because they all they function like on bunch of dodos, like they don't know what the hell to do to get it done right and succeed or survive and help the country move forward. Instead, they have we to pay hundreds of millions of dollars to people when that money should have get used by the government to alleviate the poverty, alleviate the crisis that we have, to help with all the governance institutions, and pay the people in the correct salary, and pay the ones that were in salary and in retirement and thing. They can't pay anything because they have to scrape up the money, but give them big time people hundreds of millions of dollars. And I know I let them off of that. Almost every show that we have been doing recently, I keep repeating that, because the people have to wake up to the fact that that's the reality. All the extra money we're going to pay for extra gas at higher price and things, that we have extra money out of the economy to deal with these issues. These guys don't make no contracts and agreement so that the government could get some of the taxes out of these people who are investing in the country. Then again, people who are investing in the country tax-free benefits, while they mess around and tighten the noose wrong with local population, and then they go and sit down with them, say, investors, and drink the rum and whiskey and whatever else not, and have fun time, and give them something on the edge or on the side as a donation for the campaign. To hell with the country. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Well, sir, that is how it is being programmed, the design system.
Mm-hmm.
Because let's be real.
You're
I will
100%
show
correct.
you, as I always say, how they tell on themselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
They just did like amnesty and took in about 15% of our population.
Mm-hmm.
So what stops people from going to the American border, right? But just to show you how ludicrous this is, here we have a president, Biden, who says he will not stop doing what? Bringing in immigrants, because they are the ones cutting down inflation by 3% and it will go some more. Now, come to our Prime Minister, who says that, oh, unemployment has fallen to about 2.8. And I will show you how they tell on themselves, right? Because they turn around now and you have a professor that is speaking about why there's a lot of jobs with no workers. So how the hell can you have a 2.8 unemployment rate? let me go to the tape to hear it because it's the same American strategy and policy.
They pay slightly more than the $5 minimum wage, but this block factory and other enterprises like it which need manual labor are having trouble finding workers. You've been here for many years. Would you say that labor is scarcer than it used to be?
Well, I would agree. I would agree because one time people used to work for maybe at least $20, $30, and right now, due to the minimum wage went up. I mean, now it's like a problem for get workers. So I don't really know what's the problem.
According to Associate Professor at UB, Dr. Philip Castillo, it's not a problem. It's a good economic sign.
It's an evidence that the job market is strong. The most recent unemployment data shows unemployment in Belize at 4%, and that is considered full employment. So the job market is strong, and that is commendable. But then to keep it strong, to meet the growing demand for labor, I think the country has to liberalize its migrant work policies, because what that does is that introduces people in Belize who want to work. So Belize has jobs that Belizeans do not want for whatever reason, and then these jobs would be available for persons around the region who want to work. And I think that's the blend. That's the blend that is required for continued growth.
He suggests importing labor under more.
So, Chairman?
That is the same policy as President Biden, bringing the immigrants and they are cutting down the inflation. It's the same policy.
Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead, sir.
They're not just cutting down inflation, they're cutting down the local Belizeans that don't get to have a job and can't maintain their family. Because when they go ask for the job, they're not getting because they figure the Spanish people are going to work for less and they work harder and they are being as son and they don't have no difficulties with.
But sir, if I may, let me throw this in there so I don't forget. You heard the Prime Minister spoke about 2.8. Now you heard the good gentleman saying what? 4%. So I'm saying they're telling themselves. Go ahead.
Yes, but on that point, both of them are wrong. Both the Prime Minister is wrong and that gentleman is wrong. That gentleman is only quoting what this Belize Statistical Institute produce. And they do not do their numbers correctly. I could tell them about that and I could put it in their face because it's a fact. The gentleman is only quoting what the people produce. Okay? He's relying, because in his capacity as a professor, okay, those guys only deal with the raw stuff that is being put out there. They do not massage the numbers or they do not take accountability or responsibility for any numbers that they did not originally generate. Okay, let me explain that to the public because the public might want to know why I'm so vehemently stating these things and pointing out errors and omissions or oversights. When you do statistics, you always have to have what you call a correcting factor. The people at the Belize Institute of Statistics do not account for correcting factors. Otherwise, their numbers would not be skewed that far apart. Okay? And as a matter of fact, who they deal with in terms of collecting their raw numbers is not all the people in the country. In ours, our country is so small and our statistics and the relevant numbers and the relevant people that they're using for statistical analysis purposes is always suspect because they do not generate. Okay, for a simple thing like this, when they go on and do, for example, census, you know how much people are left off of the census that they don't account for? When they do the political gerrymandering and collecting the names of the people who are living at the different households and so on, and the one that were entitled to vote. You know how much people there when I register? who refuse to register because they're not interested in getting involved in voting, and or some of them know they're not qualified, but they're living in the same household. They're not accounted for. When they tell we have 400,000 people in the country, when in fact we have over 600,000 people in the country, they're not accounting for the differences. But I'm just saying that because people need to understand. I can't blame the gentleman for stating that it's 4% because he used the Statistical Institute numbers. And that's how he, as a professor, and have to make his statement to not go to a limb and try to create his own raw numbers or generate his own numbers. He's just making a reference, basically.
But again, as I said, they always sell on themselves because 2.8 to 4% is a
There's a
hell
wide
of
variance for national
so
purposes. That's a wide variance.
exactly. And if you have those type of job with nobody wants to work, you cannot be cutting down
Yes, but
and
it's
the
not true that
economy
nobody wants to
going
work,
to.
Mr. Chairman, which is one of my peeves, right?
But
It is
we know
not true that
better.
nobody wants to work or nobody
We
wants
know
to take those
better.
jobs. A lot of people go and ask for them jobs. For example, some of you want Creole people in Belize there, right? You know how desperate some of them guys are. In fact, remember there was one time when the man them in the street when they had some of the gang members, then they cleaned they had them they clean the drains and so dirty mud. People were, they stand up in a mud, they walk around with slippers in a mud. They could get sick from just doing that. And with their hand in a mud and all kind of stuff. Then guys they want these job, they want to show that they're productive, they want to learn something, they want to do something. But when they go to the job site, go ask for jobs, they're not given an opportunity to be hired. That they happen over and over, I believe. Nobody make reference to that or point that out as being part of the numbers then where they aggregate and count in terms of when the Prime Minister said there's only 2% unemployment because all the other rest of people that are not employed is because they don't want to work. So the ones that want to work, the only 2%, kind of stupid analytical process then guys they go through to come up with their conclusions there, But anyway, I yield back, Mr. Chairman. It's crazy.
And rightfully said, and before we go, talking about this state of emergency, I think that the public needs to hold the government accountable because when you have these states of emergency, it's the regular people that suffer under it. And then, as mentioned by him, in some areas, you have policemen and BDF who is facilitating that. But let's see what happened here.
An 11-year-old boy and his sister are left traumatized after police officers raided their home on the first morning of the state of emergency. According to their grandmother, the boy was verbally abused by the officers for not opening the door quick enough.
They came early one morning, last week Tuesday, I think, about a little bit after 6 a.m. A whole, about 2, 3, 4 truck full of police, and they just barge in the yard, cranking up their gun and demanding to open the door and thing. And when the door wasn't being opened quick enough, they demand to open it in a very aggressive way. My grandson looked through the window from upstairs, and they saw him when he opened the window. So one of them, in an aggressive way, cursed him, "Open the effing door, a-hole." My grandson is 11 years old. He's big in body, but he's only 11. And when he didn't open the door quick enough, they continue in that manner.
They reportedly shoved the little boy as well, which prompted his father, Ryan Locke Sr., to pull out his cell phone and begin recording, while also verbally assaulting the officers in defense of his son.
When my son-in-law was videoing, he was also cursing them. They were about to leave, but my son-in-law was hurting because it wasn't the first time they came in that manner. About last year when they came to this yard also, they had crank gun at my grandson again, right? So my grandson is traumatized. Each time they come here, he's traumatized. So that was why when they demanded to open the door, he he's frightened, so he didn't open the door right away. So they cursed him out. And my son-in-law, that was really, that got to him, and he just cursed them out. And they came back and they took him. We thought they were going to leave him that day, let him out that day, but instead he called his wife, my daughter, and told him that they're taking him up.
So while Locke wasn't supposed to be locked up under the SOE, the officers still took him to prison, forcing him to miss work.
He's not part of SOE. He has a job, and he was set to go to work that day. He was set to work that whole week, right through all the Easter days and everything. He was looking forward to that. But instead, they sent him up on SOE, and he has never been a part of that. His name was not on that list or anything.
No, he has to stay in jail for like a month, missing his job for a month.
Yes, that's exactly it. So my
You see,
I
Mr. Chairman,
hope this young man will get a good attorney and sue the hell out of the government and the police department.
but the we
Go
are the
ahead,
government,
sir.
Mr. Chairman. But we government leaders, them, they don't bring these guys to account. They don't demand accountability from these rascals and scarflaws who are committing crimes under the color of law. No, they only go back and get that young man because he dared to speak up on his own behalf and on behalf of his family. And go back and get them and then try charge on them for talking aggressively against the police and or under the SOE. Misusing and abusing powers that is not legitimately vested for a legitimate cause that has not been validated, terrorizing the local community, you know, with powers that is not adequately and properly ascended to, and or without they are misusing the powers, even if the SOE was, let's say, for discussion purpose. You and I know that it wasn't legally done or properly done. But let's say for discussion purposes, let's say the SOE was properly done and there was a need to have an SOE and it was validated and therefore that's why it was sanctioned, right? That will give them no carte blanche to go there and commit crimes under the guise of the SOE. The SOE has its own guides and its own rules and regulations that they, the police officers, have to abide by, as well as the citizenry. So for them to go there and crank gun in at the young man in face and they brutalize them and then take the young man, carry on the station for that day, and eventually, if you don't know how many more days after, when they send out the Hattiville or whatever, that is just punitive on their part because the people in there to stand up for their rights. Now maybe the young man lose his job. Who the hell want to pay for services and things where he have to pay for out of his job? Who want to compensate him for that, or who want to get him back on job if he not get back his job? That's an abuse of powers. That's why I tell you, and I tell them, same idiots already, okay? Some of them want to end up at the Hague. They not believe or they not think it's possible. But when some of them both end up at the Hague, they shouldn't turn around and complain and pretend that, well, they never knew it was possible because of the telling over and over and over. For the last SOE, when I'm pulled with that bogus thing, I pointed out to them. They gone back quickly and they haul it apart and they cease and desist, but then come back again with the same shenanigan. Now then I said the SOE, when I put in place, they know it wasn't right and they shouldn't be doing it, but it served for their purpose. That's why you are a police department with powers vested in you as a police authority to do the policing work. Not to come with no bogus SOE to cover, to do police work, and then another bogus SOE, you mistreat and you treat other people. We don't have nothing to do with the craziness you need to go solve. Because that young man and his family was a victim. Like the many other people, like the only other way they attack and haul and choke and slam down the road and kick in his side. These are all victims of the SOE malpractice. And I think some of them government officials need to go to jail. Like I said the other day, Chester need to get the boat hauled into jail. Now, then I expect that nobody in Belize there will arrest none of them high power people them and prosecute them because they're not prosecute them one. Even the one that when I know they commit the outright crimes and criminal conduct, then put them back on cabinet. That's the kind of
You
ludicrous
know,
dealing with.
I believe they are in denial, especially the comfort. But I will say this to say, if I was in that house, I would not have opened it up.
Yeah,
As
but then
long as you are not a participant of
come
that
the door, and
SOE,
then they may accuse you
they
of doing
had to come with a warrant.
you.
They had to come with a warrant. They
No,
cannot just go to
Mr. Chairman,
any door without a warrant.
Mr.
They
Chairman, they have
knew,
the public in Belize, sir. They have the public in Belize as a country believing that the SOE gives them superpowers that does not require a warrant or anything else, that they could just come on. We are seeing the conduct of these people, that they hide behind these things to commit crimes. They know what's right and what's wrong, but they still go ahead and violate the rules that they are sworn to uphold themselves. They're a bunch of
but
rascals.
again I say, he is in denial. Because listen to this.
So far, I can say that it is going well, and as much as the regulations that accompany the declaration do give the police a number of powers, we have not been using those powers. So if you would move around the areas that are under state of emergency, you will see that the law-abiding citizens can still move around freely, as the SOE was not intended to disrupt the movements of law-abiding people, but rather for us to be able to get a better grip on those gang members who continue to demonstrate that propensity to perpetrate criminal acts. So far, I can say we have a total of 23 persons detained from Rowan Creek and Kamalote, and 30 from Belize City. So now we have 53 persons currently in prison.
There are people that are saying that the police is abusing their authority under the SOE. How do you respond to that?
I would respond to that by simply saying, if you as a citizen have seen that, I personally have not seen any. And I believe that the police, as much as there is an SOE, the police have not acted in such a way.
I don't even want to finish it. The man is in denial.
Denial, you need to get both arrested and locked up in a place house for a few days, I tell you. I said it the last time I played that tape, and I say it again, and I say it again, and as many times as I need to say it. Then guys are a bunch of mobsters acting as a cabal under the guise of a duly legitimately elected government. And they're using and misusing the system because they are not held accountable. In other words, he, Chester, know that way to say is not right. He shouldn't even be talking in that kind of way. Plus, he can say he don't see nothing wrong. He don't see nothing what the police officers and they do wrong. Are you going to tell me that he never saw on the media? He always talk about Facebook and other media. For instance, young lady get choke out and arrested. Choke out and slam down and kick in his side. Who's to tell in the future what kind of consequences young lady will have to live with? You want to tell me he don't know about that yet? Has he called any of his officers in for discipline? The thing we are just playing with the young lady and the little kid, the little 11-year kid just now. You want to tell me that he don't know about that? So he can come to the radio waves now, the waves now, and tell us that he knows there's nothing wrong with the man and they do. No wonder the man behave like that, because then he ain't got them back. They know that they could carry on committing crimes under the color of law, and there are no consequence. But when people take the law into their hand and dish out their own consequence, then they turn around and say people they get out of hand. Well, why people have to get out of hand? Because they don't do their jobs, and they hide behind their jobs and commit crimes themselves. A bunch of criminals. I yield back, Mr. Chairman. It's just disgusting, man.
Right, rightfully said, man. As I said, they are in denial. I think we have come to the end of our show for tonight. So If there is
That was my
anyone you
closing.
want to call out for tuning in, please feel
Okay.
free to do that at this time.
Okay. I don't know. What I'll do is I'll prefer to respond to them now, and I'll be responding after the show is finished up, since we're trying to finish now. I think we should just go ahead and do that, Mr. Chairman. Let's log out, and close off it tonight, and then I could just take care of those in-house matters. Yeah, I'll just
Okay,
leave that.
thank
Time
you,
is running.
sir. Thank you. Good night to the Belizean people at home and abroad. Thank you for tuning in to this 126th episode of Belizean Affair. With that said, hoping that you all have a great night.
Ancestors them get glory after war.